What's good, everybody? It's been a bit. Guess we took a little bit of a summer travel break, I guess we could call it. So thank everybody for making time to come out, just have a conversation for free game. When's the last time we went? June? Yeah, May, June. So it's exciting just to be back and break the fall, get conversation going, see what's going on in the world. I think the two things that's top of minds right now, and I think Trump is turning itself in like right now. Just weirdly enough, that wasn't coordinated at all. My mom told me when I was walking in here, she thought it was so interesting. And the Supreme Court's another one that's just social, top of mind, but I'll throw those over here as things I want to come back to. Really, I just want to open it up to you guys. I know over the last couple of months, I've been pushing people towards free game to just ask questions. So, anything comes online, please make sure we get questions online. I know I've pushed several people to this session, so hopefully people showed up with questions and things that we could just build on. So I'll either jump into a question or I'll go on a long rant about the Supreme Court or Trump going to jail. Pick one. Go for it. Should I give him the mic or speak up? Oh, there we go.
My question is, I remember Flavor Factory when you first started, and the question I have is, what made you decide to open up a location in Charlotte or Houston versus starting straight in New York or one of the biggest cities?
Um, it's easier to learn. Well, I mean, shit. 2005 was now a while ago, right? Like it took me a second to like sit with, like, so it was a while ago. At that time, there was a lot more opportunity that I seen here. There was tons of opportunity in other big cities, but I felt like by coming here, it gave me some space to learn, and I could fail fast and fail quietly, and honestly, fail inexpensively, right? Like the cost of doing, like, if you would do a bottle of water cost in New York versus a bottle of water and just whatever shit, you probably give some here for free, right? Like, so like the balance of just the cost of the barriers to entry, the cost of learning was a lot better here, and I felt like the opportunity was bigger for the cost of learning. Example, um, similar rent price per square feet, you probably pay 10x more in New York than you pay in Charlotte, right? And even if you start to look at the competitive landscape and you look at brands, when you're opening brands, the number one thing they're looking at is who's next door to you, who's around you, who's in the same city as you. And then if you're thinking about brands that are really, really tight on how they distribute, they're looking at who's in your region, right? So going to New York, it made tons of things more difficult versus coming to Charlotte when there just were not a lot of things being distributed here at the time. So it's just a really good starting place. And then if you start to look at all the other cities we chose, like we chose to grow small, like to grow small, learn, and I think now we're finally on the clock to open in New York later this year. And that's 20 years later. Make sense? Uh, well, I guess we got three mics. We super fancy.
Loaded question.
Yeah.
So, with the current state of the economy and kind of credit card debt being at the all-time high, how do you plan to more so capitalize off of this type of economy, and also too, how has it affected your business?
Well, you don't necessarily capitalize off this economy. You exist in it, right?
Right.
I think there's opportunities in every economy. I'll start with the positives. I think when you get a soft economy, what I've seen in my experience is that consumption doesn't stop, right? How we consume looks different, right? What we consume looks different. What we're willing to consume and why also looks different. So it's being hyper sharp on who you serve and why, having a connection to them, and just understanding what things make them excited and why, right? Because I think we, again, I've seen this movie before, right? Like '07 was the, like, something's in '07. I was like, yo, something's happening out here. Like, I can't, like, nobody walked through the door in like 2 days, right? So it's very different than what we're seeing now, because I think we're still seeing a level of activity now. So it isn't '07, but you're right. Everyone overconsumed. We were all locked in the house, right? Then the government started giving out a bunch of kind of free money. Won't call it free money because it's not free, because we're paying the price via inflation now, right? So a lot of money went into the system, right? Everybody overconsumed. Now we're seeing the cost of doing business go up because of inflation, right? And we're seeing activity slow down. So really for us, it's just pars the course, and I think just understand that we need to just now focus more on what we've been doing, right? Like for us, it's like, okay, how do we look at our processes? How do we make sure we're as efficient as possible in our operations? How we make sure that we're as connected to you guys as we've ever been? How we make sure that we're talking about the issues that matter, doing the issues that matter, staying focused on our why. So it's really like, I mean, once you got a very sharp why, it's just keep going back to it. Like every time things get difficult, keep going back to why. And if you keep going back to why, everything starts to get easier, right? I mean, the parts of the business that you got to quantify, that's where you got to make sure there's a team of 300, right? We had a summit last week where it was less about me as a leader, but more about the people in the middle of our organization, making sure that they understand and have empathy for one another and each other's roles, to make sure that we're working as efficiently as we possibly can within our organization. Because when we are, we'll be able to keep our costs down by not just making mistakes, right? So you'll see things like, I think the one that everybody talked about this week is, if you've seen Dick's Sporting Goods, if anybody follows the stock market, I just have the weirdest brain in the world. Dick's Sporting Goods let go 250 people and forecasted down, and their stock just took a bath. And then I think you've seen Foot Locker stock in turn take a bath. But all you're really seeing is just a general reaction to the softness in the marketplace, right? Like, it's when you're not publicly traded, it's like just reading the news. Like, so for us, we don't really get too high or too low, because we operate our business pretty much the same, rain, sleet, hell, or snow. Like, we serve, and on a transactional part of the business, we try to be as conservative as we possibly can at all times, while making sure we're able to do what we can to feed enough sugar to keep the world excited about the things that we need to transact in. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Hi. So my question is about the Spark Pitch competition. I just want to know, what would you look for in a business that is applying to that competition, and like what would like stand out to you, make you pick them, you know?
Well, it's interesting because that's another seat, right? So I'm sitting here as James, the Whitaker Group guy.
Yeah.
For the Spark competition, I'll be sitting here as James, a partner in Impact Investors, where myself, Mark, Mr. McCall, Chef, Todd, Matt, Will, Hal, we'll all sit here collectively. So it isn't just me. I don't know how many people I just rattled off, but all of us will be sitting here. And I think the thing that I love being a part of this group and with Impact Investors is we all came together and put a sum of money together to create a nonprofit private equity fund with the goal of helping fund and start and support minority-owned businesses. So it isn't just me; it's a collective group, and I think the experience. You got Mr. McCall, who built Bank of America. You got Matt, that trades in businesses every day. You got Todd, that's like building hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate around the country and around the world. You got all of these people. You got all these people with Will, who's a high level executive at Wells Fargo. You just got all these Hal who I could just keep going on and on and on, right? All these people who do all these things, and so it's not just me. Like I have the things that make my ears go, but I think at the end of it, we're just looking for to help people who come prepared and can like get the world or get the people in the room excited about their business and then have it make sense to the guys and gals, right? Sorry, that was probably a super vague answer, but but yeah. We got anything online, G?
You talked about expansion. How do you identify markets to show up into next?
Now in North America, we identify markets honestly is Google. So so literally I focus on my first looks are black population. My second looks are crime rates. My third look is probably GDP, consumer spending. And that's just domestically in North America. Globally, I look first at global issues, like the things that interest me, like refugees in Europe interest me a lot, right? The continent of Africa interests me a whole lot. And when I say interest me, it's like our team, the things that we're generally interested in. But I think those places, in short, places that align to our why and are close to the people we want to serve and why. So I think there's obvious, like, certain key cities, like people say, oh, why do you choose New York? There's like a gazillion people there, right? So it's like you pull up most populated African American cities in the U.S. and New York's going to come up, right? LA is going to come up. So that's generally the criteria where I start at, and I can say that so clearly because I just done it pretty recently to look at places we'd be interested in going in over the next 10 years. You want to get another one before we get in the room? People, everybody in the room, y'all get a chance to bump online. So y'all got something, please throw it at me. G, you got another one online?
Do you have a favorite project, past project, favorite storyline, or what is best yet to come?
Yeah, that's probably it's. I think I'll keep giving this answer over and over and over again. We've been blessed to be able to tell our stories, and I think, right, example like pointing to the TV screen if you can't see us online. With the ability to tell our stories, it's like you love what you're doing, but then it also helps you think about what's the next thing, right? When you work with super talented people, you have a very singular thought about something, and then the Lloyd Visuals team is in the room right now. But when you bring in other creative people and incredibly talented people, your idea goes and expands, and you're like, oh shit, this is really good, right? I had like a seed and you guys watered it, nurtured it, and now it's a fucking forest. So I think we're blessed to be able to plant a lot of seeds, and we got the opportunity to like watch them grow and like share them. And the fact that we'll be able to do that for the foreseeable future makes it almost impossible for me to either not sit here and tell you about the next 5 things we're doing. I get in trouble if I done that. So I can't. I'm like, it's like asking me which child I love the most. Sorry, I was perfectly political in answering that question. Go ahead.
So I know that you now do, like, of course, you've expanded into like doing clothes for our mama year and things of that sort. When you hopped into that space, what is maybe 3 things you wish somebody would have told you? Because I feel like, of course, like the retail space is one thing, but hopping into like manufacturing, learning price points for, like what to sell stuff for, having people actually buy it. What are some things you wish somebody would have told you before you hopped in the actual like clothing space?
I mean,
or any advice you have, period.
The crazy part about it is you can have the advice and still catch the lump. Like I can say like, yo, as soon as you walk through that door, there's a thing on the floor and you're going to trip. and somebody might be walking and looking for it and still trip over it, right? So I think a lot of the things we were told going in, and sometimes it doesn't make it easier, right? Like production timelines and design timelines, and I can probably everything. There isn't. I've had things go perfect. In 2008, when I made denim, it was just like dumb luck, right? Like I got on the internet, met a factory on Alibaba, called Pale. He created me a tech pack. Got on the trade site, trademarked social status, trademarked the brand, send the spec to China, got on a plane the next day, flew to China, figured out like, oh, I need to go to Japan. Yeah, go to Japan, get the fabric. Holy shit, this is too expensive. Going back to China, right? Oh, buy fabric in Japan, sew fabric in Hong Kong, right? Like, but it was dumb luck. It worked, right? But I think every environment is different. Some environments are like super domestic production friendly. Some environments are like Portugal years ago was probably easier than Portugal right now. Asia, when Asia was, that was Asian '08. Somebody will probably laugh at me right now. Nobody's making somebody 7 pairs of samples after they just met on the internet 2 days before in 2023. I just don't think, I don't know. I mean, it could happen, right? But some of it is just like nuance, and you actually don't ever know until you try. So it's like a 50-50 thing. I always say try, because the funny part about it is the smaller you are, you may not be experienced, but hindsight being 2020, it's actually easier. Yeah, the smaller, like it's actually easier. It's actually easier to start, because if you take your anxiety out of it, right? Because I have all the experience in the world, so I don't lack I lack anxiety around starting, right? But when you're starting, you don't know anything. You got all the anxiety in the world. Probably got a super sharp point of view of exactly what you want and how, but you're just nervous about trying to figure it out. But the quantities are smaller. You're closer to the full business. If you're prepared to be able to do all the things, right? Like if you understand tech packs, you understand marketing, you understand US trade, you understand shipping, you got a kind of bilingual thing working, and you can speak. If get like there's, it was pretty easy. I think the thing that catches you most off guard is when you scale it. Like when you say you want to go from like 24s across to like $120 across, and you see a PO at the bottom, like, oh shit, it was $4,000. Now there's 225 grand. Like, oh, and you want that deposit like right now, right? So I think in the beginning, I think that's probably the only thing that scares people. But now LA exists, and you can get like onesies made in downtown LA. So I mean, there's no better time. There's never a better time to start to now. And I don't ever think things get easier with the advice, but action is what actually teaches us all, right? Long-winded way of answering your question. Anybody else in the room before I ask G online?
I have a question more about philanthropy and the impact investment private equity fund that you mentioned. Is it more of a grant making fund? You mentioned some of the different people who are in the banks. I think it was a congresswoman, I forgot which one, in Boston, who just talked about banks not making good on all of this money they pledged, like in 2020, like millions of dollars. So kind of you all coming together, maybe probably as peers, friends, is this grant making beyond business, kind of thinking about some of the different issues in Charlotte, climate, especially is hard hit where people of color are. I'm just more curious about that part of it.
So James is about to speak right now, not James of Impact Investors, right? I get to say whatever the hell I want, so I want to say it. Most banks are horrible and don't want to help. Without me having a computer in front of me, I was just thinking about this yesterday as a part of one of our projects. I would love to audit everybody who said during the pandemic that they had $8 trillion for Black women and $1 billion for Black men. I would love to go back because it's all live, right? Everybody who made a pledge is out there, right? I would love to go back and grab and hold accountable all those organizations who are currently not keeping their word. Bank of America, JP Morgan, like let's just start naming them. They'll all say, "Oh, we're trying because," and they'll give an excuse that they invested in something kinda to make it kinda. But if we looked and held them to the fire, I think we'd be really disappointed in what we've seen. So the answer is one part of the question. The second part of the question, what we're doing is just because it's the right thing to do, right? It's 6 or 8. I can't count the number because my brain is just whatever. But it's us just doing the right human thing. It has no affiliation with any of our. I mean, some of us are entrepreneurs, right? So our affiliation is our company, right? But it's all us in our personal capacity saying, as a group, we want to collectively do more for the Charlotte community. And as an individual, and I think I can speak for those our Charlotte investors, and I always say impact investors because the belief is one day we'll get far further than just Charlotte, but the goal to start is Charlotte. But it's not grant based; it's actually investment based. And what we do is make investments in businesses, right? And that investment gets paid back to us with a little bit of return. None of us take a profit. It goes back into the PE fund and we recycle it back and invest it into other businesses in the community. The pitch competition is a grant, and the pitch competition is just our team, our invest team saying, hey, let's increase our visibility some. Let's get out here and have fun. Let's create some energy amongst the local business community and flush out who's the best of the best locally, right? Because the goal is that there's going to be 3 winners, right? You know, the best part about it is there's going to be a bunch of people who don't win, but that doesn't mean a conversation ends with the grant. This is a place where a conversation starts. And I think with us, we're not like, oh, there's an application, fill this out. Like you're just not going to get when you reach out to us, once you hear from us, you're going to probably hear from one of us. Chef went to take some personal time with his family to just like invest and spend time with his kids. But usually it's like Chef or Todd that just jumps in. Like somebody will say something to me and I hit the group immediately, but the first person who usually jumps out is Chef or Todd. But our goal is to just help catalyze the local business community here. And once we get past here, start with the region, from the region to the country, from the country to the world. Does that answer your question? Okay. May I have that bottle of rosé, please? Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Dwayne Jordan. I just got off the road from Atlanta to come to this.
Thank you.
I've been following your work for a very long time. Very interested. I probably bought everything you've ever put out.
Thank you.
Well, not ever. Not ever.
Thank you.
But a lot.
Thank you.
I'm very interested in what you do with the Whitaker Group, and I'm curious as if there are any opportunities either now or upcoming available to work with the Whitaker Group.
In which way?
In many ways. I'm a creative all over. I'm actually an art teacher, and I use my art to teach my kids, or use art to teach my kids that there is more than one way to excel in the world, instead of just putting paint to canvas or something like that. Like I design clothes. I do social media. I've been doing social media for a while. I've grown my TikTok following in a year to about 50,000. I'm just trying to more so network with the right people to help myself grow, align myself with people that are above where I'm at, and get myself there.
Yeah, I get it. So no, I think the easy answer is yes.
Okay.
Right. And I agree with you that when I was growing up, if I'd have told my mom, I'm going to college to be an artist,
I already
I
know.
wouldn't have got a good response. Right. I honestly still think to this day, my mom is with me this week. I think my mom still doesn't fully understand what I do. I think she just goes with it. But I think there is a huge opportunity to live in the arts. And this is where this generation is special because I think we know it now.
Yeah.
Like I would have argued, I would have even argued, my 20-year-old self would have been like, man, you can have the art shit. I need to, you know what I'm saying? But now I think 20 years later, it's like, oh no, you can build something
Yeah.
very, very, very easily from the art side. I think I'll say it, so I say it out loud. Science, you got to quantify everything, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like there isn't. We all pay our bills with currency, right? So you got to be able to quantify your business and make a business out of everything. So science must be learned and must be applied with art to make magic. But you can stand art up to create magic. The other part of your question is always opportunities. From the experience side, George is always in a room. George is the guy who just raised his hand. All things brand side start with him and Mark. Even in general, just talking to us, I think all things probably start through our brand team because even community sits right next to brand, business sits right next to brand. So we're always open to anything and anybody as long as it's looking to push humanity forward. You can honestly, probably the crazier the idea, the better. And if it's not crazy, that's cool too. But it's just one of those things where I can only be 20 for 10 years, 30 for 10 years, and I've passed both. So being in my 20s in the 2020s, I can't do it physically, right? It just can't happen. I don't know how old you are, but I would love to understand how your mind tinkers because it helps my mind. So anything you have for us, I would love to hear, make time, figure out. We're always open to talk, listen, hear new ideas, explore things.
Awesome. Thank you.
What's up, Jay?
What's good, Khalil?
Chilling. One, I want to thank you for just being accessible to the community. I don't think there's a lot of like CEOs here in Charlotte or elsewhere that make themselves this accessible. So I feel like just acknowledging that and understanding that like we're living and witnessing history right now is really important.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. My question is related to more so like real estate. I've been really interested in real estate as I've grown and scaled my business because I realize that it's an anchor to be able to do other things, even when I want to eventually hire somebody else in the role that I'm currently in. So I'm really interested to understand like what your vision is around like real estate, for example, like the Alma Living. I think that's really dope to be able to like mix retail with the living aspect. We don't see that as much down south, but we see it a lot up north. So interested in any plans that you can talk about related to Alma Living, and then any other like real estate plays that you can also give us the inside scoop on.
So it's interesting. Me and Khalil work together. Khalil is founder, owner, Lloyd Visuals, who's been driving the vision for First and 15th. And we work together in tons of different capacities. And we've gotten a chance to know each other through the years, met organically, and the relationship just is a perfect example of watching somebody like, oh shit, this is like when you're always in awe of the people you work with, that's when I feel most blessed. Like I'm working with people. We took a call this morning and I was like, no, y'all hit it. That's dope. Like I was on the other side of the call, like, oh shit, that's really fucking good. Right. So last week, told me about a space they were going to take. And I don't think many people know that before I done this, When I came home from federal prison, the first thing that I did was buy rental property because I was a felon. And I was like, yo, well, I definitely ain't getting no job. And I done quick math and read Rich Dad Poor Dad and was like, hold on. Houses at the time in Pittsburgh, you can get houses for like $2,500, but the rent was like $800 or $900. So I was like, yo, 10 bands a house. If I get 10 houses, I don't need a job. I can make $100,000 on $100,000. So it was just a quick hustle in my mind, like, oh shit, I just need boop, 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 bang, bang. So that was one of the first things that I embarked on, and it worked, right? So I think I was able to start the business here because I'd had 6 or 7 rental properties that I bought for like next to nothing. And they were worth easily over 100 grand after I finished with them. So if you understand how debt works, you just go to the bank, hey, Mr. Bank, I have this property. They're like, okay, we'll give you this money for this property. Here you go. Sign some, take some credit, get some money. But when the business started taking off, I didn't forget about the real estate part. Like, and we don't ever really talk enough about this because I'm able to like be as flagrant as I am about the things that I care about is because I don't need a lot. I don't live a big life. I don't need like a private jet, a yacht to survive, right? I live very comfortably, thank God. And the balance is because I started very early understanding how to balance my personal books. Like, hey, like real rap, what do you need to live? Like, I don't bullshit myself. Like, what do I want to drive, right? Where do I want to live? How many vacations do I want to take? Who do I want to sleep to next to? Who do I want to sleep next to at night? How many kids do I want? How does that look? I had a very honest conversation with myself and then just focused on hitting the marks. So by the time I was 25, I was able to start a business because I had residual income coming from rental properties. And I was able to take debt against rental properties because, right, I made some of the right choices. So as this business ramped up, I continued to invest in real estate. And then literally this building we're sitting in, we moved here. We probably remodeled this building. This is about to be a long story, people online. We probably remodeled this building easily 3 times. And I'm like, yo, how much is it to buy this motherfucker? Like, it finally hit me like, yo, hold up. We're paying rent here. We've been here since 06. It's 2000, whatever the fuck, right? Like, I got online and started doing some quick maths, like, called my landlord, like, yo, I need to buy this building. Because we quickly figured out, if I'm signing 5 to 7 year leases, right, it's cheaper to pay a mortgage than it is to pay a lease, right? So I just had to say to myself very quickly, like, hold on. And then after I'd done it once, I start asking myself, like, how many places am I operating in that is cheaper for us to pay the mortgage than it is to pay the lease, right? One of the buildings, we let the landlord overcharge us by $100,000, I think 2. And you would think like, well, damn, why you let yourself get beat like that? Example, 3-unit building, right? 3 tenants in a building. Tenants paying $15,000 a month. Us being one of the tenants, right? Building was probably worth 700. We paid 8. Why? What's the mortgage on the building at 800? Rates at the time was 4%. What's the mortgage? $4,000. So a $4,000 mortgage, $4,500 mortgage on $15,000 a month income. Fuck yeah, I'll give you the extra $100,000. You could have it. I can care less about what you're making. It's not fair per se, but newsflash, I'm about to sign a 7-year lease. in 7 years, this place will be paid off. Like, it's just about how I was thinking about that project. So take that thinking, and I think we now own more than 10 of our current spaces, much more than 10 of our current spaces. And if I had to do something else, like if tomorrow I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this the way we do this now, I would probably look to develop a state, because the idea of politics sucks to me. But the idea of creating an environment that you can build for like-minded people, that gets me excited. Like what happens when you get to work with the people, I haven't said this, but I'll say it now. We're doing a project on Tuckasegee. That's the project that we was talking about. And I'm like, oh no, I got a project you can check out. And the goal of the project is to put 10 businesses in that live in the same ecosystem as one another and are all Black-owned businesses in a Black-owned community. But instead of just like making a meaningful investment to the project, we made a very meaningful investment into, I think it's about half of a city block, 3/4 of a city block. And I think what you'll see there, what our goal is to create an ecosystem that we could all work with each other, business to business, but also be able to help anchor a Black community, right? And then like kind of take that thinking and expand that thinking outside of that community. What happens if you get like a zip code and 2 zip codes and 3 zip codes in a city, the county, and the state, right? So for me, I've always loved the idea of like experiences in space. I feel most comfortable in spaces that are curated with good human, great art. I love the art. I love the artists this exhibiting in our space right now. But when you get good humans, you get good space, it makes it very easy to start to think about how to develop a vision for like Central Avenue. Y'all remember Central Avenue in 05? Does anybody remember that? Drive Tuckasegee right now. Central Avenue in 05. The only difference is we get a chance to participate in it. We got the information, so now we can go in and participate in the development of our own communities and take real ownership in it, right? And if you have an opportunity to potentially lease a business, maybe you should be looking to buy, right? If you don't have an opportunity to even lease a business, then we'll go out with the information soon enough, probably in 30 days, you'll start seeing the information go live. When it goes live, give us a shout. We'll have another pitch competition around it. That's the short, long answer. But from a Whitner Group perspective, my goal is to transact in experiences and being of service. If we can transact in experiences in service, I would die happy, man. Like I think there will always be like brand connection. Like we all got to get dressed, right? Like I think that's a part of what makes what we do kind of interesting. But with I'm in your living and Be Social and APBU and APB Skate and Jade and all these things, you'll start to see like come alive. I don't want to give it away right now because so much shit is about to come alive soon, like very soon. And you'll start to see where we are now and where we're transitioning to. And then probably 2 years later, there'll be another like, oh shit moment, because there's this, I can't give it all away right now, but there's a very meticulous, intentional plan to build meaningful experiences for us to exist in.
Hello? Okay. I have 2 questions. So my first question is similar to Khalil's question, but how do you feel like, or how much do you feel like the experience side of the brand has impacted retail, and our ability to profit off the experiences that we offer as a company?
I don't think not a, the goal isn't to profit per se, because there really isn't money in experiences the way I see it. It's more just about like this. And it's tough because, well, Khalil's just not my favorite person today. I never go out. Khalil was having an event last weekend, so I went out. Just to, if it's someone whose taste I trust, I'll come out with it. So I came out. And it's just about creating meaningful human engagement. The money part doesn't really matter, because the currency is the connection. How we're going to get paid is the relationships in the community and creating an ecosystem amongst ourselves, just to keep our creativity, our ideas, our connection, and stirring a pot where we're all working together. Because exchange will start to happen. And if the exchanges happen within the people in a room, so if I buy something from you, right, either service, idea, whatever, right, then you now hire Lloyd Visuals, right, and they now hire George, right, who now hires him, who hires her, right? It's not about money per se, but the ecosystem that's then created helps create a thriving community, right? And as long as we have a position in the ecosystem, which we do, we have a pretty damn good position. That's what the Whitaker Group is in and of its existence, right? So it's less about us profiting off the experiences, and it's more about building sound and meaningful experiences so we can create a solid infrastructure for community. And I think, again, without giving too much away, we've invested a ton of money over the last 3 years that you'll start seeing come to life. And then we'll invest even more money later next year into the future of what we're building. And it just isn't, we can't do it alone, right? It literally takes, I pick on Khalil because we're working together right now. It takes for them to sign up to the project and do a really good job. Like, they fucking killing it, right? So now we got somebody in our community that we can go to and when you see who they're bringing on people from our community. So we made money, they made money, they're pouring it back into other people in the community who's now making money, who's pouring it into other folks in our ecosystem that's making money. So if we're all pouring back into one another, we're building the foundation and strengthening one another, right? And the most important part is people are watching us, right? And as they watch us work, that's the biggest opportunity, because now somebody's looking like, oh shit. Like now your choices look different, right? When I was 14-year-old stuck on a stoop, not knowing what decision to make and not knowing who to really look at to see if I'm gonna make it or not. Now, once you see all these people like, oh no, I'm working with my man who working with my man. Oh no, and everything's love and everybody's love and the ecosystem, like nobody's tearing each other down. Everybody's showing up. Everybody's like, yo, the first shoot, I was at the shoot. Question, second shoot, I was at the call. For the third shoot, I barely needed to make the call. I made the call and I was just like, oh shit, this is so dope, right? But like now we're all growing together, and that's the biggest benefit. When we can get that at scale, then we'll all be, if you're just looking at quantifying things, the size and impact of our community at that point will be unimaginable, right? It's almost the way the U.S. was designed to work in the 50s and 60s when there was a robust middle class, right? If you look at the Jewish community and how they work how they're able to invest in one another and have a community that supports one another. Like there's something to be said about that, and the results of it don't get talked about it as much as it should. Does that make sense? Because it's not about taking shorts. Like I don't need short money. Actually, I'm not much interested in shorts. I'd rather take the long approach, especially if we can sustain ourselves to be able to hit the mark. I take the long approach and the whole room get on instead of just taking shorts and only a few of us get on. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay, my second question and my last question. How do you know who to take with you? Like, I mean, you didn't get where you was at by taking the wrong people with you. So how you know who should be on the bandwagon? For real?
Actions. I'm a show me dude. Like miss me with the words. Like, listen, we all got to talk. God gave us a voice, right? I'm an action person. When people's words and actions align, I listen. All of our reputations are action. You could have been a crook yesterday. You could have just came home yesterday for murder. You're home today, right? So somebody gonna say he's a murderer. Cool. I know some of those. Your tomorrow, the following day, the year, 3 years, 5 years, that's going to determine your story. Because we've all heard the story of the murderer who became the thing, who became the thing, and became the thing, who became the thing. But all most people was hung up on in the beginning was what? He's a murderer. Does that make sense? Not that they weren't comfortable in letting the reform happen, right? For me, it's about intentionality and like when I got busted and done time, and I just seen something on social media. 50 said it. Your most valuable asset is what? Time. And to punish you, they take away what? Time. Right? When you learn how to do right by your minutes and your seconds, your days get better. Does that make sense? Like when you can really think about your minutes and your seconds, your days are better. Make sense? So I don't actually decide who I take with me. They do. Does that make sense?
What's going on? Chris, nice to meet you. See you again. All that
Yeah,
good
good
stuff.
seeing you again, bro.
All right. So with fast fashion taking up a large space in this fashion market share, I've noticed that you all have pretty much stuck to your race. You know, all of your brands stick to what they know. You go with the brands and the partners that you've already worked with, and you bring in new up and coming people who have a vision, have a story behind their work and what they're using, and what they are providing to the community. So my question to you is, what is the process behind looking at up and coming brands or looking at brands that may have a legacy that are looking to start to build their status back into this fashion world? And how do you differentiate between, okay, these are the brands that we're going to work with, these aren't we're going to look at, and also how do you place them between your different brands? Okay, this is a brand that's more fit for social rather than or to APB or wherever you're going to go.
If it's so between banners is APB, we try to consider price. Well, here, the first thing is when you get into a relationship, and we've all dated somebody in the room, right? Everybody's probably dated the person where you knew it was going to be like, this is a tonight thing, right? And then there's the person that, and I don't think anyone intends to marry the tonight thing. Some people do. Shit, more power to you if you did. I'm not mad at you. My personal preference is to associate our brands with creatives that have a vision and integrity, right? I'm going to go macro first. This is a business of integrity and market share. Some brands are able to like hit fast and hard, but no different than the girl boy in high school, right? If it's the new girl comes in high school, most gorgeous girl in the state comes to new high school, even the girls in school will be like, damn, she's nice. And the dudes in school gonna be on her neck, right? But if she goes and dates a new dude every day, what's gonna happen to her brand value? It's gonna hit the floor. Our business is the same, right? You have to have a vision for how you want to be perceived and who you're connecting to in a global marketplace and why, right? I think there's a ton of, going back to your comment about art and science, right? There's a ton of incredible creatives, but if they can't quantify their business the right way and understand the who's and the whys and the what's that they're working with, they'll have a moment. And some of them have really big moments. Shit. Tommy Hilfiger had really big moments, right? Ralph Lauren has had several huge moments, right? But usually when those businesses get overexposed, that's when you start to see the decline of the business. Does that make sense? So the first thing we look at, we're looking for creatives that aren't looking to come in and hit a home run. Now, if you say to me, yo, Jay, I want to hit a home run, we'll say, hey, dope. We got a space. You could do a pop-up and be social. Have at it. Good luck. We can't personally carry you, but you could pop up in a space, get going. And if you want to get as many POs out as you can get out, keep up the pace. But know that one day the music's just gonna stop. Right? That's just the beast that is this industry. How we choose brands for each banner, I'll go with Jade is women's that you have that has not yet to be discussed, but I'll say it. Kids, there's a kids banner that we're working on that has not yet to be discussed, but I'll mention it, right? And then there's APB, which it's a younger audience and demographic. So we try to look at the price point more than we do the brand. Does that make sense? Because it's less about, you don't want to like give them something that doesn't have integrity because it's a lower price point, but it's an acknowledgement that you need to be thinking about price in the markets where we are with APB and how we want to connect that brand, the youthfulness and the experiences to HBCUs and younger people. Social status is the heart of the world, right? It's in the center of sneaker culture. It's in the center of street culture. It works the edge of street luxury, right? So it just engulfs so many things. Manier is not really about product. It's shown itself as product. Manier is going to be white experience based. Manier is going to probably be more physical experiences in space than it is product. But the product that you see primarily are like fashion houses and like the new avant-garde one-off brand where someone wants to make a fucking notebook that's fucking handmade of paper and you got to use a specific pen. It's just it's not built for speed. It's built for taste and experience, and taste and experience at time is fucking expensive, right? So on a price side, we don't pay attention to price on that year, right? So we would sell a cup that costs whatever the fuck, right? And it's not just about price for the sake of price, but it's about giving the creative the ability to get their idea out. And sometimes when you go to get an idea out, you finish and you cost it and you're like, holy shit, like the fabric was this, the sewing was that, the shipping was this, the dye was this, the packaging is this is this, the bag is this. Like, holy shit, this cost me this to make. So to make money, I got to sell it for this. Like, oh, fuck, this notebook is $500. Dope as shit, but it just landed at $500, right? And that this space is built kind of for those kind of things, right? So that's usually our thinking and our approach to working with brands, and we're always open. That same conversation is early, like open to explore new thinking, open to explore space, open to explore ideas, open to explore what it is anyone's thinking, because being not willing to doesn't push the edges any. Does that make sense? Okay. So
So as a young real estate investor and developer, I know that you are starting to get into the nonprofit space and more so like lending for businesses and things of that sort. And so just kind of going back to his question, I think when I first started out, one of my problems was like getting capital or figuring out where to find capital. So after like saving my money and things of that sort, I started making my own moves, right? And so now I'm in a space now to where it's like I'm kind of starting to get more into private lending. And so I was wondering and seeing if like is that something that you would be open to as well from a private lending aspect, just more so like on the real estate side, just as like it's a little different as opposed to like doing it on the grant side, like what you for the competition that you were just speaking about. But are you more so open to like doing private lending on the real estate side for like young people in our community that are like getting in, and of course for the right projects that make sense, or maybe like affordable housing or things of that sort. So yeah.
when I make some more money, yeah.
Yeah.
Like now, I would say like to get in private lending, it takes a lot of capital. And if you've seen our 10-year plan, that also takes a lot of capital. And many people, I'm the principal owner of our business. There isn't a partner. I own 100% of it. So my primary fiduciary responsibilities are twofold: to the Whitaker Group, to my family, and then to our community. I don't have that kind of money. It's the easiest way to say it. Will we? Yeah. But I think there's a ton of, especially now because rates are so high. Rates are so high, and banks are unwilling to do business. So the appetite for private lending is open way up, right? So there's tons and tons and tons and tons of private lenders out here. So I don't know if there's any value I would add other than our relationship. And you probably get a faster yes with me because I know you, right? So if it's me lending, I'll be a lot more interested in, and I get that part, right? Understand, as a community, we need lenders that you can bring the plan to, but you can also pick up the phone and be like, yo, can you meet me on such and such and such and such on such and such date? I'll get you a plan in a week. I just need you here now to talk me through how you would underwrite this. I could do that now, right? Like the advice is free. I think if Todd Collins was here, who's one of the impact investors, he does it 24/7, 365. So he can point in like the way I can call off brands and that kind of stuff. He can call off lenders and yeah. Yeah, I think that you could ask George about that. I think if we said, hey, who are the funds that want to lend up to 5 million, right? That aren't banks. I think, can we pull that together? Yeah, it'd probably take us some calls, but I think so. I think we've done it before with just general banks. In the pandemic, money was super cheap. Banks were super friendly. They was outside they was trying to drum up business. Like, banks was in the streets trying to do whatever they was trying to get you in. Banks don't want to have shit to do with nobody right now. They might lock the door and say, what you need. Like it's a different model right now. But yeah, that's something we could definitely do an event with that. It's actually a really good idea too. Gee, you can write that one down. Todd Collins can help us with that.
Cool. Hi, my name is Raven. I'm going to try to keep this quick. But one, I really want to highlight your answer around, I think one of her questions where you were talking about community and the ecosystem. I want to like bang on the table over here. I'm just like saying yes, yes, yes to everything, because I think it's really important for us to realize like where we are as a community, where we came from, it's from like this rich tradition of like coming together as an ecosystem, especially when like people like to highlight Black Wall Street a lot. And people think it's like a bunch of Black millionaires. And that's not really what it was. It was a Black doctor who used a Black farmer for their groceries, who then used like a Black babysitter, who used a Black seamstress. So I really appreciate you kind of channeling like that radical tradition to, you know, how you guys are expanding the business. So I really want to say that. My question is actually somewhat related to the last question that was asked is, obviously we came from like being in a bull market, going into like a bear market, and venture capitalists aren't as friendly with their money right now. Is that like, you know, someone looking to raise funds and raise their first round, what are things that I guess we should consider when like putting in applications or talking to like investors? And then also like on the other side of that, answer this how you like. Statistics show that most startups fell within the first year. It's like, I think over 80%. And obviously with a lot of us being like marginalized in this space and not really familiar with like private equity, venture capitalism, just even legal terms, how do we navigate this? Because we've seen like the Rockefellers fall apart. We've seen, you know, a lot of different brands fall apart, and there's like a lot of poor business decisions. And I know we can't learn everything overnight, but, you know, what are some best steps or things that you've learned along the way?
It's funny because it's a really good question. So I'll say this out loud. I've never raised a dime. So I can't now sitting on the impact side. And now I take tons of calls from people who want to give us dimes. So I understand the process of if I hypothetically wanted to do it, right? But I can't speak to the space of having needed to do it because to your earlier point, when I needed money, everybody just locked the door and looked the other way. That's generally what our community's gotten through the history of time, right? So that's the first space. I think being prepared is the reason why we're doing a pitch competition. The pitch competition is so everyone has a safe space. I think everyone is safe enough in our space now that you can come in here and bomb and come back again next week. Does that make sense? Like, yo, what's stopping you from getting on the schedule 3 times? That's what I would do. I'm gonna take a warm up, then I'm gonna come back the next time, and I'm gonna make us change the rules so you can't do it 3 times, right? And the thing that you're gonna get with the impact investor pitch competition, yo, Matt and Chef and Todd, they all sold businesses. Like, they will never say, and it's not Googleable, like, man, like, yo, like, they know what they know. Like, they've been through the ringer of huge transactions and needing to underwrite huge deals and bring in capital and do the things. So my reason, like, I think we've done a free game with them at some point, and I was saying at the meeting, the benefit of me being one of the partners on Impact Investors is because I'm like a player coach. Because I'm like, yo, when somebody say something to me, like BlackRock, Chef introduced me. This is just being super transparent. He introduced me to someone from BlackRock because BlackRock has a fund where they want to invest in businesses of a certain size. And we're one of the few businesses in the country that are of that size that no investments has went in. And I got one rule. I got a lot of rules, but one of my very important rules is always had a conversation. Even if I go in with the intent on saying no, I can't learn if I don't have a conversation, right? But I get to sit in those meetings like people sit in the pitch competition just to, even if you don't pitch and you sit and watch someone else pitch, you get the insight on understanding what it takes, how to pitch, and get to ask the questions. The next part of it is, and we talked a lot about this in the Harvard free game, which I don't think was recorded. When you go into spaces like Harvard, like the free game, we did FAMU one day, and then we did Harvard the next day, back-to-back free games. And the level of confidence that comes along with being a Harvard student, associate, whatever, fill in the blank, because they're all thinking raise, 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 raise. And what I said in that room was, anybody ever thought about operating? like, like, can you operate? Like, can you not just put pen to paper and pitch or raise money, but can you really go into a business and operate it? Are you willing? When I opened this business, there's people who funny enough, will still hit me to the day like, bro, it's crazy because I never knew you was the owner of your business. I thought you were the manager of Flavor Factory, or I thought you were the sales associate, or I thought you were the, because yo, when you operate and you're all those things, I was the buyer, I was the manager, I was the janitor, I was everything, right? For one store. So when I sit with our team, I say all the time, like, yo, I've done 80% of the jobs that need to be performed on our team because I'm an operator. I understand how to operate, right? I can also step out and understand how to CFO our business. Are there CFOs that can quantify it quicker? Yes. But can I quantify our business? Fuck yes. Does that make sense? So I think in these environments, there's something to be said for starting. Somebody started the session with, why Charlotte, right? Because I got a chance to sit here and grow and learn as I went. So when it was like, oh, what do I do next? All the answers were, the next question was, what are you doing in Marketsoft? You're operated through it. I know exactly what to do. We're going to do this, this, and this, right? I know the answers because I have the experience because I've been here, right? So there's something to be said for being able to pitch it and raise it. There's something also to be said for being small enough, but having really big plans and understanding how to pitch your big plans while you're operating small. Because when preparation meets opportunity, fill in the blank happens. Luck, magic, success, but that's when it happens. Does that answer all the questions?
Yeah. So pretty much just scale it. I think sometimes people have like a really big vision. It's just like, okay, scale it down and see what you can do with like the MVP, like a minimal valuable product.
Yes, 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 yes. You're welcome. You want to go online or you want to go here first? Okay.
I'm gonna shift gears a little bit from business. It's not, it doesn't go unnoticed that Black women are often made a priority in your projects, and so it's actually very much appreciated by us as well. So just curious where that comes from, or where you always support us in anything that you do. So just curious where that comes from.
You know what's crazy? Innately coming up, there's all the things that you know, like don't hit a woman, open the door, like women eat, like when you grow up like super pissed project poor, there's just certain rules that you live by them. So I had a privilege like that growing up how I grew up. I used to be like, damn. Now I'm like, that shit's like the foundation for my everything, because it's just something that just like, yo, you don't do this, you don't do that. It's just a way of being where I'm from. So I think it became the light came on when they were like, okay, you can finally do your first Jordan project. What you want to do? I was like, 3. They're like, well, damn. And I'm like, yo, nah, we ain't get this far to get this far. Right? We got a story to tell, and this is the story. They came back and was like, yo, it needs to be for women. I said, bet. It was like, why did you say it so fast? I'm like, because it doesn't make a difference. Right? Like we're all, as a Black community, raised by women. And where we from, our mom is called our raise. Like your mom is your raise. Like your raise is just how we always talk. I didn't know that wasn't slang for the world. It's slang where I'm from or whatever. But it just made sense for me. And then like as I thought about it more, and then I work with a bunch of black women, even in our business. Carrie Connor, Tanya Jones. Those are the two that come to mind. Because when I was really, really transitioning from Flavor Factory and Social Status, they just made room for my rawness to exist. Like they didn't make me feel uncomfortable being as raw as I was. But then the juxtaposition of me looking at what they got to go through in our space, like just made me look at like, damn, if I think it's hard to be black, be a black woman is like fuck. Like this has to be really hard, if that makes sense. So then it was after that, I was like, yo, we can lead through this. Like I'm comfortable clearing space for anybody, right? More comfortable. The thing about when sisters win is they comfortable bringing people along, right? It's almost like, you know, men got this little ego and we want to believe that like we got this possessed this superpower. I think women as nurturers are comfortable bringing people along. So less about me thinking like, oh, well, they going to pay it forward. Just more like it's like, yo, it's just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It makes sense to how I was brought up to understand the world, right? So for people, like, it's just like also like being comfortable with black people. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in a room full of mostly black people. Some people might peek around the corner and be like, oh shit, I ain't going in that motherfucker. Like they might kill me. You know what I'm saying? You never know. But when you're able to get that level of comfort with something, you begin to understand it better and you can speak for it a little different. And it was something that I was always so comfortable with that it never like to not do it never crossed my mind. Does it make sense? It's like that just it's too much like right not to do it. Like that's like it's crazy. Like even when people said that they like, bro, why you do women's? Why not make it men? Like, man, you gonna buy this shit anyway. Like, don't make a difference, bro. Like, stop. Like, men, I don't care what the fuck the shoes say. It's dope, right? Can you fit it? Do you look good in it? Shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Okay.
Hey, my name is Gadiel. I just transferred to Queens recently, and over the summer, I was fortunate enough to meet Khalil from Lloyd Visuals and Samir and my guy right here. I just want to say thank you for. I know it's not your intention fully to impact like young Latinos, or maybe it is.
Yes.
But thank you for impacting Samir and all these people who eventually inspired an underrepresented community in a way. They gave a speech at GDS, which is a scholarship for undocumented or DACA or refugee pending asylum status. And I just want to say thank you for giving us a voice in a way. I appreciate you so much.
No, and listen, first, you're welcome, but it's not, that's the power of community, right? That's the power of Samir specifically been around since he was like a high school kid. And it was nothing that I said to him in one magical moment or sentence. He just texted me the other day. All he said was, bro, this just got renewed. I said, 10 exit. He said, I'm at it. Right? It's just intentionality, right? And if we all show up with the best intention for one another and give each other grace, like, yo, good things are going to eventually happen for everybody, right? Against all the noise, like, yo, Trump got locked up. Who gives a fuck for real? You know what I'm saying? We still got to go to the polls. We still got so much other work to do. Trump birthed DeSantis, who you got another dumbass, who got another dumbass, who the narrative is all just dumbassness now. And like, yo, like the Supreme Court is now dumbassness. And we sitting here like, you motherfuckers is just going to be this stupid in front of our faces, right? So the only way to undo that is this. And somebody might say like, damn, you're only talking to X amount of people, but this is impact because like, yo, when you look up X amount of time from now and you start to see the perfect example in a microcosm is look at everything, look at the economy of Kanye West, polarizing person, say a lot of crazy shit, take all of that out. Look at just look at him and the ecosystem and the economy around someone who was mindful enough when he was in his best health to surround himself with the people who had vision, right? Like, yo, it's not necessarily about anybody in this room being a Kanye West or not. It's about the catalyst that shows the world that they are the Kanye West of whatever they're doing. Once the world believes it, perception becomes reality. Does that make sense? Thank you. G, you want to go online?
Yes. Jay, Tokyo inspired your retail experience.
Yes.
How do you measure the ROI of investments in retail design and customer experience?
Man, I'm learning accounting. It's scary because I hate it. Like the moment you start counting ROIs, like it's like counting how much you spend on your wife. You can't necessarily. Why would you quantify that? It's just stupid to try. Does it make? But in business, you actually have to. In business, you have to actually quantify it, because the thing that makes sense to me is my experiences, right? Like, so it's a good idea for our team to do a bunch of stuff, but then someone hands me a bill and I'm like, what the like shit. You know what I'm saying? So the cost of that experience for me, when I had a Delta Companion Pass, which I still have to this day, right? And when I got on that China flight and that Tokyo flight, it cost me $7.81, right? And when I stayed in the Marriott in Tokyo, it cost me $35 because my cousin worked there. And in Shanghai, it cost me $27 because my cousin worked there. So round trip to go to Asia for 2 weeks, I might have spent $275 of some crazy shit, right? If Key say they going to fucking Tokyo for a shoot now, my bill is gonna look very different than $275 a person, right? And it's just, I said it to you earlier. When you're small, you just hustle different. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, who cares as long as you're getting on the flight? You don't care. I'm getting to Asia. I don't care when I get there. Yo, I'm gonna hit you soon as I land. Could be Tuesday, could be Thursday. I'll call you when I get there, though. You don't necessarily care, right? If Key's going on a shoot in fucking Bangladesh, they need the plan. They got to have the shit together. They got to get the cameras. It's the schedule. It's coordinated. They need this. They need that. It's different than when you're small and you just like scrappy and figuring it out. And it's not that you can't be scrappy and big. It's just a little bit more complex to fly 12 people to Seoul on a companion pass, right? What happens if they're all on different flights? Can we get them all in a hotel at the same time? Can we do it nimble? Yeah, but it'll probably take a month to shoot what we need shot in a week, right? So it's tough when you start to look at ROI because the experiences are invaluable, and the experiences is what help push us forward. But the moment you start quantifying it, it gets kind of daunting. But to not do them is more daunting. Does that make sense?
Foot Locker is down, Dick's is down. How are you confident when things are bad out there for your competitors?
Because they're Dick and Foot Locker, and we're us. Good luck to them. and listen, I say that there's a lot of things that they can do better than us, right? You know what they can't? They ain't not interested in what matters, right? Like, yo, like what makes us us is different. Like it's not necessarily about that. Does that make sense? It was about this when when the pandemic was bumping, we was doing what we was doing the same thing we're doing now, right? Like now the market's shrinking. Yeah. Did we have a summit? Yes. Are we making sure that our internal processes are right? Yes. Are we counting the shit out of our inventory and creating new processes? Yes. But like, yo, you know the difference, G, online, what you can tell them? The difference is we have one shareholder. They got to report to the street. And the second they report bad news, oh my God, Dick's ain't going out of business, bro. Nike ain't going out of business. They got more market share than any footwear brand in the world. Best footwear, best innovators, smartest people, biggest risk takers. Fuck, Foot Locker ain't going out of business, although they should probably switch those jerseys and move them all and do about 10 other things. But I doubt if they going out of business anytime soon. So it's how Wall Street interprets the news that moves the stock ticker one way or another. The external environment and what moves the external environment is more important. We knew it was shit out here before Dick's reported yesterday. The news algorithm is telling us, be worried, right? The algorithms, those stocks are down. Like I live in this shit every day. I don't get no fucks about what Dow Jones say or the NASDAQ say.
Have you used or are you currently using AI in your business? And if not, do you plan to implement it at some point?
Man, I was walking this today, and I do this walk talk thing. When you get these grades, you start to do these kind of things. So you walk and talk. You take your calls walking. It's the shit you do in the middle of the day. So I'm on my walk talks. Saying to one of my homeboys, I said something to him about Ebbetsfield. I love jerseys, by the way, and the cycles, and like I'm not like the cool creative guy, but like the history of this shit and culture, I live, eat, sleep that shit. So I was just talking about like, yo, baseball jerseys are gonna go. Like it's been on the edge for a while. And I'm like, yo, if I'm gonna wear a baseball jersey, it's Ebbetsfield. It like, yo, so I gave it away. Like, yo, we should hit Ebbets, do this project, then like start screenshotting shit. After I say this, what's the first thing to pop up on my fucking screen? The damn algorithm starts serving me. Ebbetsfield, everything, shop, right? So to answer your question, we're still exploring. Actually, and Key and Chris's part of the business for editing, I think it's the thing that popped up because somebody told me. So I think naturally, as technology gets better, our team is going to look to use it. I think one of the biggest opportunities for us is you'll start to see our e-commerce business over the next 5 years look very different than it does currently. Because we focus so much on physical experience, there's a huge opportunity for us to really dig into our digital experiences as it connects to just building brand and not necessarily transacting, but it's just a huge opportunity for us. So I think in that way, AI will be important. If you ask me how, I think in a ways that are most authentic to us. I'm not sitting there just like, ooh, going to the AI conference and like somebody is. Like I got counterparts in this industry who just get off on, oh my God, they got this new technology. I'm going to find a way how to use it tomorrow. Right. So everybody has a thing. I think we're going to take the information that's available to us and use it best as connected to who we are. But I'm not looking to like ask George to go find 2 AI bots and start like getting us all the new information out of it. But if there's a way for it to help us be more efficient and better, let's leverage it. G, you got another one online? We got that pause, or somebody have one in the middle?
Hi, I'm Melissa. I want to kind of piggyback off Erica, and I know you mentioned, like, of course, women being important to you and some of your storytelling, your sneakers. What about like at the store level? Is it anything in the works where you have anything designed for women, or like as far as merch, merchandise store, clothing? Are you looking more for women designers and, looking for them to have some of their items in the stores where people can come, where women, we can come and shop locally?
So there is a space being developed. It's 30 seconds from here. Literally, it's a fully immersive women's experience. It'll be ready before the end of the year. But it's everything that you just said. I'm like, you just queued me up. I can't, again, I keep saying it, I can't give it all away, right? But we've worked so I mentioned Jade before. Jade is a fully immersive women's experience where we're looking to have women invite us in, meaning us, meaning my gender. So we're looking to have women lead that space and invite us in because we love best party is 80 women, 40 dudes. I want to be in there. So like color space. Come on, man. We're dude in the room. Y'all sitting there, they sitting there with the mean mug, like you don't want to go to the party. You want to go to the party? Yeah, but we're looking really looking forward to being able to break the news. But yeah, the space is literally less than 30 seconds from here.
Answer
Okay.
my question.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I wanted to kind of talk about and touch on, like, I know a priority for you is quality and taste, especially with just fashion and moving into the digital space. But there's a lot of like trends like that we mentioned that kind of come up, but it's heavily popularized, which I don't think like for the public is out of malicious intent that they really connect to it and want to experience it. But how do you kind of parse through and or do you make it or do you have an emphasis on like wanting to help the public or your consumer base kind of understand why you want to prioritize quality, taste, and kind of move away from some of those trends?
Yeah, it's almost like none of us ever ran to the restaurant that had bad food. Right? It's taste, and taste and trend can go hand in hand, right? But trends don't last. They're cyclical. Taste is forever, right? Quality's forever. Those two characteristics you can ride into the end of time, right? And if you stay focused on those two things, then you know what happens? Why I think somebody said, you got those businesses dropped and you're not worried? Because I said it earlier, like any place that's worth being, it's here, right? When someone wants to develop something that's meaningful, we've worked to establish ourselves to be a place that connects the people who want tasteful, timeless, classic, quality things. And not just the physical items, but they themselves believe that they want to be those things as well. Does that make sense? When you it's a longer game, right? Like you'll see somebody who's willing to settle for less get way more opportunities, right? You'll also witness them have more headaches. And you may also see them catch a hell of a win, right? But if and when you operate from a space of quality and taste, personally, and with items in your patient, when you hit, you're gonna hit. And in times like this, where he, like yo, Dick's and Foot Locker is down, like yo, we got what they wish they had. Does that make sense? And I knew it now, I know it then, and we ain't gonna much shift who we are. Does that make sense? Because if you're chasing, this is a bad analogy. So I'm trying to think how to say it different. When you chase things, you're going to spend your time chasing things. When you invest in things, you'll sow the results of the investment, right? So things will chase you. And I've lived my life and tried to surround myself with people that was willing to play the long game. Because for me, it's always just been something like, yo, I played the short game. That shit got me what it got me, right? And I understand that. And even when I say to people in the streets, the comparison I tell them is like, yo, the streets, you're gonna make a lot of money real fast. And then you're gonna hit a brick wall. Playing this way, you're gonna take a very long time and make a little bit of money. And then you're gonna hit. And then you just gotta maintain who you are and don't let the world make you a fad. Does that make sense? Because when you on, think about artists. Pick one. When you on, I'll make one up. Cup. Cup is on right now. Cup is a cup. We love Cup because it's a cup, right? Now Cup gets on. Bowl want to call Cup. And Bowl like, yo, I got this check. You want to come be over here with Bowl? If you keep taking every check, people going to forget that you was a Cup. Does that make sense? And as people, we lose ourselves. The second that you get some love, the second you get some fame, you get some attention, you forget who you are, right? You always stay centered in who you are. Then, to his point about Dixon Foot Locker, like, yo, we been us. We ain't nobody gonna shake us, ain't nobody gonna turn us. We're super clear on our why. And I guess how that goes back to your question is, with intent, we express our why. With intent, we show up, because it ain't just me as a team, as a collective. Everybody on our team shows up. She was just harassing me the other day, like literally, like, I want to know how you feel about this. I'm like, yo, harassing. She was being assertive. It wasn't harassing. It wasn't harassing. She was being very assertive about wanting to understand how my point of view was cutting through. And I said, the importance of what we do is that you understand my point of view and yours cut through, right? And then we went back and forth and it was a bunch of things, but I'm surrounded by people who love this shit as much as I do. And they invest in it the same as I do. Like when we sit down with people, they truly do, for the most part, if they stick around for a while, buy into what it is we want to do, what it is we want to accomplish, and most importantly, our why. And if you're doing something or building something, I would urge you to always lead with your why, because then it's always crystal clear. You're giving somebody the benefit of knowing what you want and why. And if they can't align to it, it gives them the ability to just walk away. That was a very long-winded way of answering your question.
Your product market fit.
She needs to come with me all the time and say what I say. She can like speak James Ease and
I have my people talk to your people.
You want to get online? Sorry, I took your water bottle.
What's balance for James Whitner?
Oh God, what's balance? Balance doesn't exist. Balance is me in the casket and people standing over me. I'll be balanced when I'm dead. I was born Black in America. There ain't balance to that. Fuck, what other answer you want me to give to that?
That's a sweet right there.
Yeah, right. Is there another one? Any quick follows?
Nope, we good. But
when we talk about timeless and tasteless, I mean tastefulness. What are like some brands, and not necessarily even clothing, it could be jewelry, furniture, whatever, like that have just kind of withstood the test of time, that you like personally, and that if you know, if someone else is trying to start a brand like that, people should maybe emulate after or like try to look at.
I think the greatest, it doesn't get said enough, and it's gonna look like I'm like riding a home team some when I say it, but I'll say it anyway. But what brand has had a bigger impact on Black culture than Jordan Brand? Think about it. What person? And I just watched what's the no, not The Last Dance. What's the one for the Lakers? What is it called again? Winning Time. Basketball was on a fucking like on a tape delay before Magic came into the game. Magic and Bird comes into the game. And then this dude, and then I watched Air too a couple weeks ago. I try to watch things way afterwards, so like the noise gets in and I can kind of digest it. Then we obviously got Proximity, right? And then Air comes, and there's this brand, and then this dude comes with the way that he shows up for the world, and literally, Michael Jordan as a human being changed sneakers, changed pop culture, helped catalyze anything the streetwear was, right? And we've watched a brand go from literally a draft pick to a multi-billion-dollar brand that stands on Black community unapologetically 365 days of the year. And I get to operate in it. And even on its worst days, I get to say things in the four walls of a corporation that is probably unfathomable anywhere else. And we get to stretch the boundaries of what it means to exist and create as Black folks unapologetically. Like, yo, and even I'll take a step back and say the balls of Phil Knight to say, fuck it, sign him, right? And even to continue to work with, we're working with Nike Inc. right now on 1st and 15th and Free Lunch before that, and many things that'll come after. All of the big companies that dare to allow us to have an unfiltered voice, right? It's a difference between when people are nervous and they want to filter you. And it's very different when people allow us to exist as we are and do not filter us and let us speak our truth and tell our stories. So when you talk about, for me, brands that have integrity, having the ability to work. Somebody asked me how I'm doing, I'm gonna give you it's a basic answer. Opportunities and ability. Fuck else do I need? Right? Opportunities is probably the most important thing that you can give someone. Right? What we do with it is next. So like, yo, having the opportunity to be able to tell our stories in a way that's meaningful to me, that's life for me. That's that in family, in meaningful connections to good people, that's balance to me.
And that's free game.
Oh, it's a wrap? What time is it? Oh, we got. Sorry. I'll wrap it in 1 second, G. I'm sorry.
My question is, speaking of what the young lady said, knowing that startups usually fail, what has made social status last as long as it has? And has there ever been a point where you thought it may?
Social status almost didn't exist. At the intersection between Flavor Factory and social status, I was going to quit if brands like Nike didn't give me the space to operate the way we needed to operate. even as we start to work with like brands like New Balance and Champion and Adidas, like, yo, like there's a requirement to work for us, to work with us. The requirement for us to want to work with somebody is just having space to be us. If we come in a room and there's guardrails up already, we out. We can't work that way. Like this ain't the old days with old ways. Like miss me with that shit. Like don't come in putting boundaries up on us about what we need to do and how we need to look and why. Give us the space to understand what it is that's important to you as a partner, but hear us out and hear how we can amplify what's important to you in a way that's most important to us. Right? So the short answer is at transition between Flavor Factory and Social Status, almost chose to do something else. And honest to God truth, I didn't know at Flavor Factory, I kept scratching my head like, it don't add up. Like this should be working better. I had a homie that was telling me, the dude who was calling me to get information from me about what he should do in his store was making 10 times more than me and mine. And shit did not make sense to me. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? But like the moment it happened, the moment that we transitioned from Flavor Factory to Social Status, like, yo, it's been a fucking blur. It's been nonstop. I couldn't slow down if I wanted to. And it's probably the biggest blessing that's ever been given to me. So the short answer is no. I usually don't. I worry most about keeping our team as connected to the why as they can possibly be, and helping people understand what's the most important vision for themselves. And that's internal and external. We got one more question because G hit me with the, go for it.
Thank you so much. So there's gonna be a lot of questions because we've been talking about group economics and stuff like that all day. You're your 14-year-old self. First day of school.
It's a good year.
And you're getting ready for your first day of school, ninth grade.
Oh, what grade is ninth grade?
Ninth grade.
Oh God. Okay.
Which of your collabs would you choose to wear for first day of school?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Damn, that's a good one. My 14-year-old self?
14-year-old self.
Jordan 3s, no doubt.
The threes.
Without, listen. My favorite shoe, it's a nostalgia thing. Nike BWs, black and purple. And less about like the trend in the moment. It's more like it's seeing the world in front of you, in the world. And this is probably more like 10 or 11-year-old me. Seeing the world in front of you and grabbing something and then putting something on your feet and just feeling like a super, because I got like Jordan 3s is the first Jordans my mom got me. But I was too young to actually understand what it was that it was, right? I just knew I was, you feel good as a kid and you know what I'm saying, you feel fresh. But you got to have went through puberty to like really feel yourself. Yeah. Like when you look in the mirror, like, yeah, BW. That was the launch of the black and purple BW was my moment for that. But to answer your question, it would be it might be a 4.
I go with the 4s. I'm just saying.
Listen. Damn, you asking me to choose babies, bro. Nah, bro. They look better dirty. Though. They all look better. They all wear good dirty.
They all look better dirty.
They all wear beat well.
They beat extremely
They all
well.
beat. All the shoes beat good.
Pause.
Yeah, they all beat good. Yo, any more online or are they done?
Done.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Thank you.
Please hang out. There's